Welcome back to Wings and Bibles. I'm Dustin, and today we'll be covering 91.7, 91.9, and 91.17. Before we start here, I want to let you know that the videos this week will be pretty short. I want to try to keep them around 10 minutes. The reason being is, on Thursday, I have to ferry a plane up to Crosse, Wisconsin. The flight will be about 12 hours, and the drive back down will be 20 hours. So I want to give myself time to relax and prepare for that flight. Now, the FARs that I will be covering in these short videos, there is no rhyme or reason to why I'm picking these. I just wanted to cover the ones that I can't really include into a singular video with a main, I guess you could say, a main topic that all those FARs cover. So it's just going to be random FARs off this list that I have in front of me. So we'll start off here with 91.7, Civil Aircraft Airworthiness. No person may operate a civil aircraft unless it is in an airworthy condition. The pilot in command of a civil aircraft is responsible for determining whether that aircraft is in condition for safe flight. The pilot in command shall discontinue the flight when unairworthy mechanical, electrical, or structural conditions occur. So it is your responsibility as pilot in command to ensure the aircraft is in an airworthy condition. And how you do that is you check your maintenance logs and you do a thorough pre-flight inspection. Now, if you do all that before your flight and you decide to go do the flight, you have to discontinue the flight if anything changes with the airworthiness of the plane, such as mechanical, electrical, or structural conditions. Next we have 91.9, Civil Aircraft Flight Manual, Marking, and Placard Requirements. Except as provided in paragraph D of this section, no person may operate a civil aircraft without complying with the operating limitations specified in the approved airplane or rotorcraft flight manual, markings, and placards, or as otherwise prescribed by the certificating authority of the country of registry. No person may operate a U.S. registered civil aircraft for which an airplane or rotorcraft flight manual is required by 21.5 of this chapter unless there is available in the aircraft a current approved airplane or rotorcraft flight manual or the manual provided for in 121.141b, and for which an airplane or rotorcraft flight manual is not required by 21.5 of this chapter unless there is available in the aircraft a current approved airplane or rotorcraft flight manual, approved manual material, markings, and placards, or any combination thereof. No person may operate a U.S. registered civil aircraft unless the aircraft is identified in accordance with Part 45 or 48 of this chapter. Any person taking off or landing a helicopter certificated under Part 29 of this chapter at a heliport constructed over water may make such momentary flight as is necessary for takeoff or landing through the prohibited range of the limiting height speed envelope established for the helicopter if that flight through the prohibited range takes place over water on which a safe ditching can be accomplished, and if the helicopter is amphibious or is equipped with floats or the emergency flotation gear adequate to accomplish a safe emergency ditching on open water. So, what is this section up here saying? Can't operate a civil aircraft without complying by the operating limitations specified in the approved airplane manual for your plane. You also have to comply with the markings and placards in your aircraft. No person may operate a U.S. registered aircraft unless you have that airplane flight manual in your plane. So that's just a quick recap of that part. Moving on, 91.17, alcohol or drugs. I covered this far, just the part A up here. I covered this one in a previous video on can I become a drug addict? The other way around. Can I become a pilot if I'm a drug addict? Uh, so you can go ahead and watch that video if you want to see more on alcohol and drugs. But 9117 is alcohol and drugs or drugs. No person may act or attempt to act as a crew member of a civil aircraft within 8 hours after the consumption of an alcoholic beverage, while under the influence of alcohol, while using any drug that affects the person's faculties in any way contrary to safety, or while having an alcohol concentration of 0.04 or greater in a blood or breath specimen. Alcohol concentration means grams of alcohol per deciliter of blood or grams of alcohol per 210 liters of breath. So, like I said in that other video, if you've been around aviation for any period of time, you've heard this: 8 hours between bottle and throttle. So even if it has been 8 hours since you last took a sip of alcohol, that doesn't mean you're not under the influence of alcohol. So you can't operate an aircraft within 8 hours after the consumption of alcohol, and you can't be under the influence of alcohol. How I combat that, well, I don't personally drink, but I always say to my students, go ahead and wait 12 hours to ensure that you're not still under the influence of alcohol. While using any drug that affects the person's faculties, literally any drug that could possibly make you drowsy, or as it says, affects your faculties in a way contrary to safety, don't take it before you fly. And then they give 0.04 alcohol concentration. So that's the legal limit. I'm not sure, it varies by state, but I think in Texas it's 0. I'm not even going to try to guess, but it's much higher than this. Except in emergency, no pilot of a civil aircraft may allow a person who appears to be intoxicated or who demonstrates by manner or physical indications that the individual is under the influence of drugs, except a medical patient under proper care, to be carried in that aircraft. So you can't allow somebody who's drunk on your plane unless it's emergency or under medical supervision. A crew member shall do the following: on request of a law enforcement officer, submit to a test to indicate the alcohol concentration in the blood or breath when the law enforcement officer is authorized under state or local law to conduct the test or to have the test conducted, and the law enforcement officer is requesting submission to the test to investigate a suspected violation of state or local law governing the same or substantially similar conduct prohibited by paragraph A1, A2, or A4 of this section. So if you're requested to take a breathalyzer test or blood test, you have to submit to that test. Whenever the FAA has a reasonable basis to believe that a person may have violated paragraph A1, A2, or A4, which are these things, of this section, on request of the FAA, that person must furnish to the FAA the results or authorize any clinic, hospital, or doctor or other person to release to the FAA the results of each test taken within 4 hours after acting or attempting to act as a crew member that indicates an alcohol concentration of blood or breath specimen. Whenever the administrator has a reasonable basis to believe that a person may have violated paragraph A3 of this section, the person shall, upon request by the administrator, furnish the administrator or authorize any clinic, hospital, doctor, or other person to release to the administrator the results of each test taken within 4 hours after acting or attempting to act as a crew member that indicates the presence of any drugs in the body. Any test information obtained by the administrator under paragraph C or D of this section may be evaluated in determining a person's qualifications for any airman certificate or possible violations of this chapter, and may be used as evidence in any legal proceeding under section 602, 609, or 901 of the Federal Aviation Act of 1958. So they're saying if the FAA says you do have to take those tests, the results of those tests can be used against you to determine your qualifications for any airman certificate or possible violations. And that's going to do it for this video on 91.7, 91.9, and 91.17. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. See ya!